Hi there YouTube, this is Mitch. Today I'm going to do a little video about these plants that are all blooming. This is my little display window, I guess you could call it. When I have plants that are starting to bloom and flower, what I do is I bring them inside and put them in this window, or just put them in around the house and places where I can enjoy them. I grow most of my plants under lights, which I did a little video before about where I grow them in my little grow area. So if you want and you're interested, you can check that out. These are the plants that are growing right now. This is a nice little window. It's like a east facing window, so it gets some nice sunshine in the morning. It doesn't get too hot. It's always a little bit bright, and it's perfect for displaying orchids. So let's go through some of these plants I can talk about. The first one here is this Cymbidium. This Cymbidium is called Red Nelly Devil. That's the cultivar name, Devil. I guess because it's this nice red color. This spike here on the left, it's been going for about a month, and you can see here the flowers starting to fade. You can tell the flower is about to fall off because it gets this real muddled coloring, and yeah, it changes. Whereas you see these new blooms are nice and crisp white with the yellow stripe in the middle. This is a really beautiful plant. I love how the blooms are held high above the foliage, and I love the yellow in the lip with the white. Some of these have a nice smell. Yeah, this one has a bit of a smell. It's like a little sweet smell. It's nothing to get too excited about, but it has a very distinct smell. The plant grows with these little pseudobulbs that form. They're big and fat. You can tell that they store a lot of water. This plant doesn't mind drying out, so I do grow these outside in the summertime. Actually, I leave them outside for most of the year here on the west coast because it doesn't really get below freezing very often. As long as it's like above zero, above frost, they do really well outside. But to be honest, I have left them out year round where I forgot to bring them in, or anyway, they did get snowed on or frost, and I kept them close to the house, so they did survive. And yeah, they didn't look very nice. Some of the leaves got a little bit ruined, but they survived and they lived. They do much better though if you do protect them from the zero temperatures and frost or snow. So there's a new flower spike coming up here too. So you can see that you can have a little plant. This one only has like 4 or 5 pseudobulbs, and it has like 3 spikes, so you can get a nice show for a long period of time. What else can I say about this plant? Well, they're pretty easy to grow and flower. Like I said, I put them outside somewhere where they get morning sunshine, and they can be out there year round. The way I get them to throw up some flower spikes is to just leave them outside when the temperatures get cooler in the fall. And then if you keep your eyes peeled, you'll notice a fat little bud forming at the bottom of the pseudobulbs if they're old enough to flower. And once you see that there, you can bring it inside into a cool, bright room, and the flower spikes will slowly develop, and you'll get to enjoy blooms for quite a long period of time. This one's been blooming already for about a month, and this spike just opened up. And then now there's another one coming, so I'm sure I'll get a good 3 months out of this plant, 3 months of blooms. I highly recommend them if you have the space. They do get kind of big, but they're beautiful. They get a lot of flowers, and I find them very rewarding, and they're very easy to grow. This is the next plant I'll talk about. So this is a Phalaenopsis orchid. It's a moth orchid. You probably see these everywhere. This one's a nice one. It's a cross between schilleriana, which is a species, and Aphrodite, which is a species. So I like this plant because it has these multiple spikes that come off the main spikes. I think that's due to the fact that it's crossed with schilleriana, because when I've seen those plants bloom, they just put out so many branches. It's just branches of blooms, and they have this beautiful pink, kind of almost stripy color. So this one's really easy to bloom. Some of the schillerianas are scented, but this one is not scented, unfortunately. It's very easy to grow this plant. It just has you know, bright light, not direct sunshine unless it's morning sun. Usually I wouldn't put a plant like this close to a window where the light is behind it, because it can affect the way that the buds open up, and you want to point those buds growing out towards the window. But like I said, here I have this big bright window to the right, and there's a lot of sun that comes in. That's a southern window, so the buds still continue to grow towards the light, and then you get a nice display that's all set up nicely. If I was to just put this near a window with the light behind, the spikes would probably try and grow back towards the light, and some flowers would face towards me and some would face towards the window. So yeah, I wouldn't move plants to display until they're all open, or all the flowers are all set up and open. This is a plant called Paphiopedilum maudiae, and it's a vinicolor variety. Vinicolor because this has a nice dark, it's almost like a wine colored flower. It has really beautiful leaves. They look like marble. And it's very easy to grow. Even if it doesn't have a flower, the plant itself is just beautiful. So I love the color of the leaves, and they're just as beautiful as the flower, I think. So, and I noticed the other day that now that it's blooming, there's a new, you can see that little green thing in there. That's the new growth coming up. So it's already starting to grow for the next year. This is a really easy plant to grow as well. It likes, you know, bright light, not sunshine. It usually blooms for me in the spring when the days are getting longer. So it likes that period where the days are getting shorter and darker, and then it'll throw up a bloom in the spring when the days are starting to get longer. I did a little video about this Dendrobium the other day, so I'm not going to say much about it right now, but it still looks really beautiful. It smells great. It's really easy to grow, and it puts on a beautiful show, so it's kind of the centerpiece of my little display here. This is a nice little Paphiopedilum. Hold on, I wrote the name down here. It's Paph Crazy Jolly cross with Stone Lovely Happy Face. It's a nice complex Paphiopedilum. It's the second time that it bloomed for me. I bought this as a big mother plant and actually divided it into 3. So this is the first time that it's blooming, and actually I didn't realize it was blooming. So see how this kind of grew out all crooked, and I normally, once I notice there's a flower spike, I stake it up so that it grows out straight like this one. This one has a little stick behind it, and I wire it up so it looks nice, and you can see it has a nice shape and presents really well. I didn't realize that if I didn't do it, it would grow kind of like this hunchbacky bloom, but I really like how it has this white upper petal, and the color, well, it's been blooming for about 2-3 months now, so it's starting to fade, and I know that the bloom will probably fall off soon, but it opens up really green, and then the older it gets this really bright yellowy tinge with the white lip or the white petal. It looks really, really nice, so I really enjoy this plant. Sometimes I have some trouble blooming these complex Paphiopedilums. I'm not really sure why. I think it's probably just because they have there's a lot of different plants in the background of them, and you have to kind of get the conditions right to get them to bloom. But this one, all I did this year was forget to water it a lot in the summer, so it got really dry. And it also got some really hot temperatures, so, you know, I guess that stressed it enough that it shot out a flower. But the other two divisions didn't do anything, so I'm not really sure if that's right. But anyway, I'll try it again next year and see if it works. This is a nice plant. It's called Paphiopedilum insignee. It's a species. I believe this is from India, and it's really easy to grow. I really love this plant. I've had it for about 10 years, and it's a huge plant. I wish it would send out more than one flower because it has so many fans, and it looks really healthy, but for some reason I just cannot get this plant to bloom regularly for me. So anyway, this year it shot out a bloom. It was outside all summer. I think maybe it bloomed because I put it here on my little, there's just like a little ledge here, and this is a southern facing window, so you can see there's a ledge there, and I close the curtains at night, so at night it gets really cold there on the window ledge. But also when the sun shines in, then it gets really warm. So I wonder if the temperature difference did something there where it shot out a flower spike. I've had this plant for about 10 years and it only has bloomed for me maybe 3 or 4 times. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this plant. I wish it would bloom every year, but again, you know what? It's pretty exciting when it does throw out a flower spike. It makes me feel like I did something right, and it's kind of like a trial and error. One day I'll hopefully get it to flower quite well. More than one flower would be nice. I have a few varieties of this. So I do have a white version. It's kind of white and yellow like this one. It's Paphiopedilum var alba, but this is just the regular one that I have. Once the flower's blooming, it, you know, can stay open and look nice for a few months. This one's already been going for close to 2 months, and I love the color. It has like a orangey brown color. I don't know if you can really see that, but interesting shape, and I don't know, I think it just looks really wild and natural. And I hope that one day it would have more than one flower and put on a nice big show for me. The last orchid I'll talk about today is this new one that I got. It's a Zygopetalum mackayi. It's a really interesting plant. I never thought these Zygopetalums were, you know, they're pretty, but they're not like really beautiful like a Cattleya. But anyway, the thing I really like about this plant is it smells so good. It smells up the whole house during the daytime. It literally has the strongest perfume of any orchid I've ever owned. It smells kind of like a hyacinth, or I don't know if you know what a Daphne bush is, but they have them here on the west coast, and when they bloom in the spring, you can be walking down the street and you can smell it. It just perfumes the cool spring air, but this one just perfumes up the whole house. It has a nice lip. It's kind of cool. I hope it grows nice for me. I've never tried one of these before. It has these nice pseudobulbs, and there's already a new growth coming out here, so I'm not really sure how to grow this one yet, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. And for now, I'll just enjoy these beautiful blooms and the beautiful smell. You can see here what happens when, you know, this plant I bought from a shop, so they weren't, they moved the plant obviously when the buds were developing, so they're kind of not presented nicely. They're all overlapping. If I'd grown it myself, they probably would all be facing like that in the same direction and look much nicer. But anyway, they smell really great, so I'm not complaining. Anyway, that's my little window display, and I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed these plants. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to comment or send me a message.